Okay, now I did do a little bit of painting, little detail painting on the chairs, the little red chairs, prior to, um, uh, well, I'm doing it prior to putting on the little covers. And I didn't do anything too fancy. I kind of goofed up this one. You can see where I goofed up on that one, I think. There you go. You can totally see where I goofed up on that one. I just added some little dots around the edges of the chairs. I thought it was kind of cute. I'm kind of curious, and I would like to explore more of doing this. And I used a Posca marker. It's got a crack in it, I think. And I got these on sale. Like, they were deeply, deeply discounted. And I'd like to explore some more of those in the future. I'm really not a painter per se. When I do paint, I prefer to work in watercolor or gouache. But you know, when I'm not doing stuff like this. But I think there's some things that I could do that would be really cool for, and since this is acrylic paint, you know, and you can get these lots of different places, open stock, or if you just want yellow, you can go get yellow. Now, these chairs with the dots here, I actually used one of these tools. It's kind of a multi kind of tool. I've seen people use it in jewelry, use it in paper folding, use it in sculpture. And basically all I did was dip it in the paint and then dot, dip, dot, dip, dot. The one thing that's not great about this is that it is more textural, in that I needed to wait a lot longer because the paint was thicker and there's a dot pattern there, which I think can be kind of cool. And again, I'd like to explore something more like that, but we'll have to see. And that's, once I put these little dots on the edge, I did take just a little bit of Mod Podge and put one coat over top to make sure they wouldn't chip off or pop off. If you're using acrylic, you really do need to do it because they will kind of pop off, I think, if you do a lot of moving things around. So what I want to show first is I've got these pieces done, and I went through and I remade the bottom piece because I didn't like that line that I could see. Some people, it's not going to bug you. It was me, and it's going to bug me. So these are still a little flexible in that the glue is still setting, but I can now glue these onto the chair. And this is like one of the easiest parts. If you want to use clamps, you can. I did not use clamps for this step with the pink chairs, the little set of pink chairs. So you can see I'm adding on some glue. Now, one thing you want to try not to do is get too close to the edge. And I'm a little too close to the edge here, so I'm going to use my finger and just pull it in a little bit. I want it at least, maybe that's a much better spacing there. This is just a little bit too much, so I'm going to wipe it off. The reason I do that is because when you press it down, this glue is going to kind of, needs to go someplace, and it's going to sploot out each end. If you give it a little space on each side around the edge, like about that much space, your chances of it splooting out the one side are far less. So I'm going to set it down and get it centered. And then you can see it moved a little bit when I was holding it down. I try to hold them for a couple of minutes because I got some glue on my hands. I just want to make sure that no glue is going to come out the sides. And I'm usually kind of flipping it around a little bit and taking a look. You can see how it moves just a little bit there. So I'm going to hold it for a couple of seconds and then set it down. Now, this one is like the pink ones. Let's see if I can do this edging better. Being very careful. It's probably because I was talking. And you can see about how much glue I put on there. I didn't put a ton. This is one of those times where I usually don't smear it around either. Okay, and this one's a big one. This fills up almost the entire back. So I want to be careful. And make sure that nothing is splooting out the sides. Now, I'm sure that a lot of you are wondering why we did this weird little corner where we just didn't cut these pieces like this, you know, and not have this weird little bit in the middle. Okay, I think I'm pretty confident in that one. I'm just going to set it down. The reason why is because you want to make sure that this piece is covered. A lot of times when people are attempting to do this sort of stuff, meaning you're trying to cover something, they often forget that this tiny little area right here that's right next to the corner of the board is small enough that it's not going to get covered, and you'll end up seeing some board poking out of here if you don't do the method that I did. But again, this is your chair. You can do what you want with it. You can build it and paint it purple and name it Elmer and throw it out your window, if that's what you're into. You don't have to do anything the way that I do it. Okay, let's take this one and I'm going to line it up. And sometimes with these, there we go. Can you see that glue that's kind of moving around in there? Can you see it? And if I press, you'll see it kind of come to the surface. Now, tacky glue is pretty good in that it doesn't dry too opaque, but you might want to just hold it for a little bit to make sure it's going to stay. And tacky glue adheres pretty quickly. And remember, you've already got Mod Podge on here, which is a little bit of a grippy surface, so the glue's gonna attach to it. Now, there is the chair all glued together. Now, I'm not gonna sit it up to dry. I think I might actually just sit it down like this and leave it to dry. And we can take a look at that a little later. Now, with this one, these two pieces glue in the same way. What I wanted to show you was how I did these pieces on the back. And they are pieces of cardboard that I covered with that Mod Podge covered fabric. I'd cut two pieces, one for this side and one for this side. And then what I do is I put it up next to, but you can see I've got these two little pieces right here kind of poking up a little bit. And then I just take a pencil and I mark where they are. I move it up and I mark where they are. I know this sounds a little strange and you're thinking, well, good God, this must take forever to do this. And I'm like, honestly, it's easier than giving you a measured piece. Then I cut out there's that little middle section. And I already know it's the right size at the top and bottom. So now I know, I think I need to take just a tiny bit off, like a half a millimeter. And there is that piece. I do the same thing with these over here. Now, once I cut them out, then I just use little scraps of the fabric and glue them down. And I do it the exact same way as before, although it's not quite as much of a hassle. I glue this down. And you're probably thinking that the little tiny side pieces are going to be an absolute nightmare to do. They aren't. You can do this. It's all well within your skill set. Sometimes I'll put these down and then fold them over, and then I can give them a press. So, and I was really careful. I hope that's not, it's popping through a little bit. There's a little corner there on the cardboard. So there's that piece that I will eventually be able to glue there. With these tinier pieces, what I do, because they are so tiny, I'll glue down 3 sides. Okay, we got 1, we got 2, and we got 3. If you tried to do this with regular fabric that wasn't, oh, there it is, it's popping open a little bit, that wasn't already stiffened, you'd have a really hard time. And then this one I trimmed as kind of as a little closer, because I just wanted to fill up that tiny little bit right there. Okay, and now I'm going to fold it over there. I got a little something on there. I think it's just little glue boogers. But this one I usually pay attention to, and I keep a little closer track on, because I really need that to like catch and like stick. It gets a little difficult because my fingers are a little sticky. You can see here I'm kind of picking off glue boogers, and there's some glue boogers there I want to pick up. But you can see I've now got the piece that'll be glued in there. And these are just glued in the exact same way. Add some glue to it, put them down, make sure you hold them in place for a couple of seconds, and then they're ready to go. So that's how you finish gluing down any of the versions of the seats to the chairs, whether it's the felt version, whether it's you just cut out a little piece of fabric or a little piece of felt, a little piece of fur, whatever you want to glue down there, just glue it straight down. So I will see you in the next video, because we are now, believe it or not, after 18 videos, we are now done with chairs. So we're going to be moving on to tables. And believe you me, the table videos are going to be really simple, and they're really straightforward. So I'll see you in the next video.